Hey everyone, Sycra here, and today I want to talk about comfort zones. And I'd always heard that it was a good idea to get out of your comfort zone or even stay out of your comfort zone. And first of all, what's a comfort zone? Well, a comfort zone is what you are good at, what you've done a lot and you find easy. So for me, my comfort zone when it pertains to art would be things like drawing faces. Faces and eyes, definitely part of my comfort zone. I think that's it though, or at least it was for a while. That was my big comfort zone. So let's put that in the comfort zone. The red is going to be the comfort zone. Yay! I like this zone. Anyway, so that's where I am comfortable. But I would spend time learning all these other things, because there's a bunch of other things, how to draw cars and the figure, male figure and female figure and hands and feet. What else? Buildings and trees and dogs and dog colors, just things like this. So these all are areas you can go, and these are the things that you can learn. Values, proportion, stuff like that. Color, there. Dog colors. Inking, maybe, the tools as well, like, pencil is in my comfort zone. Let me add that into my comfort zone, because that is definitely, yes, pencil. So it's not just what you draw, it's what you draw with. But then you have all this other stuff, and this stuff is stuff you can learn. And so I learned about values, and I learned about a lot of this stuff. It's not in my comfort zone, but learned a bit about it. You can see what I don't know much about, and dogs always used to bite me, so fuck them. Anyway, so then we have our comfort zone, and you want to learn all these things, but as long as they're just in the blue, which means you know about it, you learned it, you studied it, maybe I read a book or I did some drawings, it's still going to be difficult for you unless it's in your comfort zone. And what I was doing is I was just jumping around outside of my comfort zone. Now I want to explain it a bit differently, because I have to explain how the brain works a little bit. So, okay, let's say this is a path, right? This is a path, this thing, right? That's where we want to go. So start is, then this is a task you would do. For instance, let's see, what's a task someone could do? Maybe learning how to draw an eye, right? Okay, so now imagine you're on a sled, right? And this is a neural pathway. So the start is, you haven't drawn it and then you've drawn it. And the dotted line is where you want to go. That's your path. The first time you go down this path, you kind of know where you want to go, and you're trying to follow that. But it's going to be a bit shaky, right? Like, you might not be exactly following it. Okay. And then try again. So, okay, so you'll try again. Maybe this time it's like, oh, okay. Still, like, this part's okay, you know, I'm usually getting on the path. I'm a bit off here. It's like, okay, so I tend to be off here, so maybe this time you'll go like that. And it's like, hey, I hit these marks. I was a bit wonky here. And then as you keep doing this repetitive task, trying to get from point A to point B, what's going to happen is during all these attempts, you're going to get better at following the path you want to. And if you're wondering why it's red, because this is snow, right? And it's a sled, let's just say it's a girl on her period. But anyway, you're going to get better at following this path. And eventually, it's going to create like a trough, right? It's going to create an area where it is easier to be in this path than outside, because it's just like when you go down, I don't know if you're in like some country without snow, but if you keep going down a path in the snow, it's going to build like a trough, and then the sled or toboggan or whatever you're on, it's going to naturally want to go down that same path. And this is how the brain works. And this is why repetition is super important, because the more you do something, the more it's going to become part of that path. And so the same thing applies with like your comfort zone. So okay, so let's say I spend some time drawing male figures. Okay, so it's going to be like, okay, there's more time in male figures, and as I keep practicing male figures, look what's happening. It's like, whoa, that is now part of my comfort zone. And I think it's really important to actually start in your comfort zone and then go outward, because the stuff in your comfort zone, this is always gonna be easy for you. So if I start here, it's already difficult because I'm out of my comfort zone. I don't really know what I'm doing. I've explained it with juggling before, where you have to juggle all, like, imagine each one of these things is like a ball you have to juggle. Okay, but if it's in your comfort zone, it doesn't count because it's just become muscle memory. So it's stuff you can do in your sleep, and definitely with eyes and things. I've drawn so many thousands of eyes that it's like, yeah, this is not hard for me at all. I haven't drawn many buildings, so that is hard for me. So that's like a ball that's a weird shape that I'm not used to, and everything's all clumsy. And whereas the stuff I do know, that's the balls I don't even think about them. And so, so let's say you have 10 balls and you're juggling them. That's difficult. But if 5 of those balls are in your comfort zone, so you're not even thinking about it, then suddenly you're only really juggling 5 balls, or at least it feels like you're only juggling 5 balls, because that's how much extra is taxing on your brain. And the way I like to think of it now is try and stay maybe 80, 70% maybe in your comfort zone, so that you're only juggling 2 or 3 balls. And I always start in my comfort zone now. I think this is really important. When I start drawing, I'll start in my comfort zone. I'll just do a throwaway drawing that is something I'm familiar with, because it raises your confidence. It's like, okay, it reminds you, oh yeah, I can draw. Because sometimes I'll start with one of these other things, and it feels like I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know if I can draw. Like, what was I thinking that I could draw? But if you start in your comfort zone, it gives you the confidence, and it's a good warm-up because it's not taxing to you, and then you branch out. So it's like, okay, so I'm going to study feet today, okay. And then the next day, study it again, and study it again, until finally it's like, oh, that's part of my comfort zone. And it is possible to have comfort, like more than one comfort zone. Like maybe I had values as a comfort zone because I started it a lot. And then I can branch out. And again, this is that whole thing of the sled, right? Going down the mountain or the hill. The more you do something, the better you get at it. So I could also do this, where I start learning proportions, then I go into buildings, then I go into dog collars, then I go into cars, then I go into dogs, then I go into dog colors, then I go into inking, and maybe I never end up going to trees. Well, this isn't that efficient either, because this is making it so, yeah, I went down a bunch of different hills, but I never developed that trough. I never developed that area where this is easy, and no matter what, I'll keep going down it. And so this is not a great technique to be trying all these new things, because you're not good at any of them. And this is where the whole jack of all trades, master of none thing comes from, because you haven't mastered any of these, and so they're never going to be really easy. And there's a great deal of freedom that comes from things being easy. I made a video about how to practice drawing, and I still stand by what I said, and it was talking about gaining mileage and doing things over and over again and making variations on them. And people would say, well, you know, you're supposed to learn perspective, you're supposed to learn composition and all these fundamentals. And I agree, but what I was really trying to say is, for beginners, it's about developing a comfort zone, starting from somewhere. And it doesn't matter where I started. I could have started here, and then it's like, that's my comfort zone, and then branching out from there. And the other thing is that when it comes to comfort zones, let's say I've done all this, right? But what can happen as well is, let's say I stop drawing for a while, maybe 6 months. Well, what's going to happen? Well, on the mountain with snow, maybe there's going to be some snowfall, so you're going to get, like, snowfall. And then it's not going to entirely erase the area that you were working on, but it makes it, like, you've got to be doing this often to maintain it. It's never going to be, like, completely gone, so that's something you never really have to worry about. Like, if I stop drawing entirely, I'm going to be worse if I start again in like 5 years. It's like, no, you'll still be better than if you never started to begin with. But this snowfall stuff does happen, where if you don't do something for a while, you will forget it. And so that's the other thing about staying in your comfort zone, because it tells you what you really want to do. Usually comfort zones, like for me, faces and eyes and things, why is it a comfort zone? It's a comfort zone because when I was a kid, I was just drawing that anyway. That's what I like to draw. And I did it so many times that I became better at it than other things. Because there was certainly a time I was horrible with eyes and horrible with faces. And I was as bad with drawing faces as I would be with drawing cars or anything else. So it's just, when you're a kid, you're more likely to do something out of the passion, and when you're older, you're more likely to do things because you think you're good at it or you're potentially good at it. And so it's not an ideal thing to be chasing these things that you I don't know, are not in your interest. It's better, like, start in your interest and then branch out. And I mean, this doesn't make sense because it's like, I am good at male figures but not proportions. No, of course you'd be good at proportions. So think about the concepts of what I'm saying, not necessarily the chart itself, because I'm already seeing a lot of flaws in this. But this is the goal, is to find what your comfort zone is and to get good at that. And if you really want to be a specialist, I guess, what you end up doing is the snowfall comes and it's like, oh, I forgot how to draw cars, and I forgot how to ink, and I forgot how to do colors. But the things that are important to me are the things that I kept doing. So so you'll get really good at your comfort zone, and maybe there's like an even higher level than red. There's like no, I already picked the most saturated red. Uh, there's nothing higher than red. Oh no!